Thank you. Recently, I've been going back in some TV history, a show I've been wanting to watch for a long time called Doctor Who. So I've started the series. I never actually watched the reboot of Doctor Who, which starts in 2005. And so I've watched the first 7 episodes. Now, if you don't know about Doctor Who, it's really cool because Doctor Who is the last of his kind, and his kind are time travelers. And so he has a time machine, and in the first episode, he ends up picking up a friend to go along with him because he's alone in the universe. And this woman named Rose goes with him in his time machine. And the first thing he shows her is the end of the world. The end of Earth, the time when the sun goes supernova, it expands, and it blows up the Earth. There is a timeline for that. It's actually going to happen. Every star has its end, and that's what happens. And the Earth will be eaten up by the explosion. And so she was there to watch the end of the world and had all of these emotions like, oh my God, humanity is dead. Humanity was still out in the stars, but the humanity that she knew, the Earth that she knew, was dead. And it made Rose think about, what is my purpose? It's gone. Everything I did was gone. Every person I knew is dead. And I think about those meaningful times in life. Like, what was it like in World War II? Or what was it like in World War I? Or, what was it like during the dark times in our history on the earth? Some of us might see what's going on right now as one of our dark times on the planet. And it makes me think about that very thing. What does it all mean? Am I enough? Do I mean anything? And I wonder if you ever have those thoughts, especially when events might go on that feel like that there's no control or you can't have an impact in the world. And I'm here to tell you that you are enough, you do mean something, and you personally have an impact on the world. And that's what my talk is about today. The first story I love is about, it's a Middle Eastern wisdom tale about this man named Nasrudda. Now, Nasrudda was outside at nighttime, and he was underneath a street lamp. He was on his hands and knees, and a passerby came by and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And Nasrudda said, "Well, I'm looking for my keys." And so the passerby was like, "Oh," and he started looking around for the keys. And he said, "Well, where did you last leave your keys? Do you know where you saw them last?" And Nasrudda said, "Yeah, inside my house." And the passerby was like, "Why aren't you looking inside your house?" And he said, "Well, the light is better out here. I can see." And it's just a fun story to represent, sometimes we're looking for things not where we need to be looking. We're looking for, it's convenient, it's easy, I can see out here, but that's not where you need to be. You need to be looking within for that thing that you're missing. Ernest Holmes has a really amazing quote. He's the founder of Science of Mind Teachings, and he says, "What we are looking for, we're looking with." The very consciousness that is seeking God is actually God seeking to know itself through you. So you're separate from the vast cosmos. You are the vast cosmos. Everything that God is contained within you. I think about Aladdin in the lamp. It was especially the version, the cartoon Disney version. And Aladdin comes out and he's like, I have vast cosmic powers. And then he holds up the lamp and he's like, in an itty bitty living space. And that's kind of us. In our beingness, in our bodies, and in who we are, we have vast cosmic power in this itty bitty living space. Because we contain the multitudinous of the universe. Our atoms are star stuff. They were literally birthed in stars. The beginning of stars birthed the atoms that make up our bodies today. We are literally made of star stuff. I mean, that's magical and amazing and phenomenal. And yet here we are worried about us not meaning anything. Does the sun mean something? Yeah. Do we mean something? Yes. We're just as vast and as important to the universe as the sun. It's like each and every one of us is a cell or an organ in the body of God, meant to be expressed, meant to do what we came here to do, to be what we came here to be. And it doesn't matter what age or stage you are in your life. It just matters that you know that you matter. Often people are thinking, if there's a divorce or you leave your job or you retire, the question is, who am I? Am I complete? Do I mean anything without my job? Do I mean anything without this role? Do I mean anything without my minister title or my place of work? What do I mean in the world? And so a lot of us identify with those personas. But if you take them off, who are you? Do you feel whole? Do you feel complete? When does that happen? When are you whole? When are you complete? When are you enough? What if it were now? What if it were in this moment? What if in all of your human messiness, that was enough for the entire cosmos for you to matter? So here's what I really want to say is that for those of us who remember our true nature, and we remember that we belong to the world, that's not about comfort. It's actually a radical act of resistance. A radical act of resistance, because in a world that's trying to say you don't matter or that you need to be divided against each other, your act of resistance is no, I matter and I make a difference. I mean, can this place be a place where all political parties are welcome? Yes. Can this place be a place where all nationalities, ethnic, all the different ethnicities are welcome? Yes. Can this place be a place where all ages are welcome? Where LGBT people are welcome? Yes. And it takes some work to actually mean that yes. It really does. I don't know if you heard, but over the weekend there was a great tragedy that happened. There was a man named Charlie Kirk who got murdered. And there's a lot of So Charlie Kirk was a person who said that all LGBT people should die, that there should be a cleansing of those people. Now, I just want you all to know that I'm gay. I'm married to a woman who is Mexican. I'm in an interracial gay marriage. And Charlie Kirk wanted me dead, and somebody murdered him. Well, the deal is if I am celebrating that murder, I am in alignment with what he's teaching. So my act of resistance is loving him and blessing him and his family. That's an act of resistance, is can I get to the place where I can love and bless those who hate me or speak against me? I mean, that's what Jesus was doing. Jesus was like, oh, all the lepers, man, they're like, oh, you have this disease and it disfigures you and it might be contagious. And so they were like putting all the lepers into these places. They're like, don't talk to the lepers. Let them be in their own colonies. Let them do their own thing. The lepers are their own place. And Jesus was like, no, bring them on. Let's go hang out with the lepers. They're the cool people. Let's go there, And if he were around today, he'd be like, where's all those LGBT people? Like, I'm going to go hang out with them. And are we doing those kinds of actions? Are we willing to bring in the people who are even trying to shut us out? One of my favorite neighbors, they definitely have opposite political beliefs than me, but they're my favorite neighbors. We've taken each other to the airport. We hang out with each other. I don't understand why they vote the way they vote, but I do know that I love them and I appreciate them, and that we live in a country where a multitudinous of ideas are welcome. A diversity of ideas are welcome. And can I be in a place where I'm not shutting you out because you disagree with me? And can I be in a place of groundedness in myself to know that without a doubt, I belong even if you shut me out? That's the big key. Brene Brown, I love Brene Brown, by the way. Huge fan, read all of her books, keep reading them over and over again. She's a researcher, if you don't know of her. And she said, fitting in is about assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be in order to be accepted. But belonging, on the other hand, doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. So in times of intense political and social pressure, do we tone down our authentic selves? Or do we speak up about who we are? And can I speak up about who I am and still let you have a different opinion and be okay with it? Some people think, oh, you're too spiritual. You're not political enough. You're too political. You're not enough of anything. You're not this. You're not that. You have to be this. To be a practitioner, you need to be this way. To be a minister, you need to be that way. I'm just talking to some ministers in the room. And maybe you feel that way too. In your family, you have to be a certain way. With your friends, you have to be a certain way. But what if you were just who you were? A little bit messy. Me, recovering perfectionist. I found out there's a couple. There's a few. Okay. Any other recovering perfectionist in the room? Ooh! The crazy thing about being a recovering perfectionist is I have to notice, one, that I'm judging me. And number two, sometimes I'm judging other people. And when I see that in myself, I go, oh my God, I want them to do this in this box in this way because I think that's the best way because I know the way. But really, what if their way works too? What if the way they do it is just perfect exactly as it is? And then how can we be in this place together, in this spiritual home together with different ways of being? And gosh, my judgments. I have to forgive myself, and I also have to release my judgments and notice when I'm judging. Because it happens. It happens. One thing I love is not just this thing about knowing that I belong, that I'm enough, but also this idea that I'm connected to everything. We're connected. There's a thing called the Wood Wide Web. Have you ever heard this? The Wood Wide Web. So in the rainforest, they call it the Wood Wide Web because they found out that all of the trees are all connected by a root system and by funguses. And so if there's one tree that's having an issue, like it's has a disease or it's getting bugs or getting all over it, then it sends out a message to all the trees around it. And then all the trees around it start building up these nutrients and pulling nutrients from the ground that build up a resistance to those things. It's fascinating. It's all interconnected. And the beauty of it, though, is that we're all interconnected. There's this study that I love. I don't know if anybody's heard of heart math. A little bit of heart math. I encourage you to research it. Heart Math Institute. When I worked at Stanford University, which I did for 10 years actually, I got to go to the Heart Math Institute and learn from them. And they study the heart. They study the heart and they study our own our electrical fields which come in through our heart. We have electrical fields in our body, and the heart is the center of it. And they've discovered that there's neurons in your heart like there's neurons in your brain. And that when we start regulating our breath and do an activity called heart math, which I'll just do with you real quick. It's actually like a 2-second exercise. Okay, not 2 seconds, but here's the exercise. I want you to imagine somebody or something you're grateful for. Just imagine that. And I want you to put them in your heart space. And now breathe in love and gratitude in your heart space. Just breathe it in, breathe it out. Okay, and now I want you to imagine that as you're breathing in and out this love in your heart space, that energy that's inside of your body actually goes in front of you, behind you, to the right of you, to the left of you, above you, and below you. That love, that energy, that gratitude. And now become present and notice how you feel. So what happens when a group of people tend to do this is that they reach a state of coherence. And a state of coherence means that everybody's energy vibration starts moving in the same rhythm at the same time. They say it becomes entrained. Now, entrained is whenever you have a clock in a clock store, and it's one of those click, 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 click clocks, and you put one that's a little bit off from the other clocks in the clock store, it'll start entraining, which means it moves at the same rhythm of all the other clocks. It's a phenomenon that happens, but we do that with each other. So one of the Heart Math Institute discovered that they measured our energy fields. And they said, well, the cool thing is that our heart, our energy fields, like when we do something like that, it goes out 6 feet in front of us and behind us and to the right of us and to the left of us, and they overlap each other. And that when we're in a coherent, entrained place in our life, that we can affect people around us in that way. But the even cooler thing is, there was a person who was asking about this research, like a journalist or something, and they said, well, why is it 6 feet? And the scientist said, well, 6 feet was as far as our instruments could measure. Yeah, they don't know how far our energy fields go. They don't know how, it could be infinite. But we have an impact on each other just by doing that little exercise. You can have an influence on who knows, just by centering yourself. Now that's powerful, and that's amazing. It's not just the Wood Wide Web that's interconnected. We're all interconnected. We are in a place of creation. And so know that the more connected you feel, the more you realize that you belong, the less susceptible you become to people who want to weaponize our differences. So the more you do spiritual practice and the more authentic you connect to your own way of being, the more resistance you have in the world to people who are dividing people. That you can literally be an act of resistance just by sitting there breathing gratitude into your heart for the world. Because you are so instrumental as a being on this planet. So whenever I'm looking at that, the TARDIS and the Doctor Who and those questions of why am I here, or what's going on, or why is this happening during my lifetime, I often think that maybe I came here at this time because I had something to share. And I wonder if that's you too. That who you are is essential and needed and important. I know that Reverend Kimberly has been talking to you about the telepathy tapes last month. I had a long drive from Seattle area down to here, and I've been listening to the telepathy tapes, and it's really, really amazing that these non-verbal autistic people can communicate telepathically, and not just to each other, but they are teaching people, their caretakers, their parents, their teachers, how to communicate telepathically with them. That it's a skill set, that maybe they were born into bodies that don't have the same ideas of separation that we have, and they're more connected because they don't have the way that our bodies kind of separate us. They don't have as much reason to behave separately as we do, because of how we were taught in the context of the world that we grew up in, which is a materialistic society, which is about us being separate individual people making our own way on our own. If it's up to me, it's got to be, and I'm the one to do it, like that kind of energy, which I know I inherited that. But maybe it's more to the fact that we are in a field of consciousness, and we came here to participate in a co-creation that's taking all of us. It's not something that can be done by one person, but every person has an impact. Every person can make a difference. And so no matter who you are, you matter and you make a difference. And I just love how those telepathy tapes, where there's literally individuals who are stuck in their bodies, who are able to communicate telepathically with another individual. And if you don't believe me, please listen to it, because it is filled with people who are skeptics and a lot of science. Communicating with another person telepathically and saying, why do I matter? I can't communicate with the outside world, but they can communicate with each other. And they're helping each other out. They're teaching each other things. They're making sure that they know that they matter. And they do, as we all do. So one of the things that I would encourage you to recognize is that every time you choose love over fear, or you choose connection over division. You choose truth over manipulation. You're literally shifting the consciousness of the planet. Every time you decide to heal yourself and your ideas and your ways of thinking, and you root out ways that your own biases that have prevented you from being a more inclusive person, every time you do that work, every time you take a class here, every time we pray with a practitioner, every time you pray yourself, you are literally shifting the consciousness of the planet. You are making an impact in the world. And we need you. We need you. There's one last thing I wanted to talk about, which is the book, The Awakened Way. I know that Kimberly also talked about this last week, but the thing that I loved in this book that I just kind of had never, I don't know, I sort of got, but I didn't really believe, is this idea. Suzanne Giesman, she can communicate with those people who've left their bodies, who've passed on. And one of the messages that she got is that every human alive on this planet has a group of guides or angels that follow them throughout their entire life and help make their lives better, if they ask. If they ask. And so you can ask for help because you each have a set of guides or angels or whatever you might want to say, ancestors, holy ones, a group of alive beings that want your ultimate success and fulfillment in life. They want that for you. You have a cheering squad. You could be alone out in the forest and you are not alone. Plus the forest is alive. So, but I just want you to get that no matter who you are enough. You are connected. You make a difference, and you are never alone. And it's not just your angels and your guides, but there's practitioners here, there's community here, and the entire universe, I believe, I call it God, but you might call it Source or the Infinite One, is here for your highest and greatest good to unfold if you want it to. And indeed, I want it to for myself. I want it to for you. I want it to for this community. I want it to for this country, and I want it to for this world. But the only way that that is going to happen is if you take on this idea that you matter and you make a difference and that you're enough. And so if you're willing to do that today, I want you to hold your heart and say to yourself, I matter. I make a difference. And I am enough. I am that I am. And that is God. And so it is. Well, let's pray. Just taking that in. I know that the words that we speak in olden days, women were persecuted because they were called spells. But the spells that we speak, the spell that I speak today, is an incantation of love. It is a realization that everything in this planet has been put here so I can participate in the co-creation of a world that works for everyone. I know and claim that each and every one of us is here on purpose, tuned in, tapped in, turned on with that infinite presence of love. That anything unlike love falls away. And anybody who is acting unloving, I know is just a call for more love. And so in that place of love, I recognize and know that as I speak my word, that I am here to do great work in the world. That each and every person is here because they matter. They are enough. They are not only deserving of love, but they are love expressed. And so as we take a stand for love, I speak my word for Charlie Kirk, surrounding his beingness with that energy of love, knowing that something in him was hurting. I surround every person that he has spoken against in love, knowing that that this world that we are creating is a world of safety and love for lesbian and gay and transgender and bisexual and intersect and two-spirited and genderqueer and gender fluid folks. That this is a world that no matter what ethnicity or what place you came from on the planet, that no matter what age you are important. And so I recognize and know that I speak that truth, and I know that it radiates, and that somewhere somebody hears it and remembers who they are, remembers that they came here to be God expressed, infinite cosmic power in an itty-bitty living space. And so I recognize and know that truth for each and every one of us here, each and every person who's hearing these words, that there is a great awakening, a great remembering, a great realization that allows us to move through the world with that love and light of protection, so that we may continue to lift others up, and when we fall and when we forget, that others are here to pick us up and remind us. Because truly that is the world that I choose to live in. That kind of consciousness, that I declare as our truth. That is what is emerging through this community. That is what is happening here and now. And so I just surrender my ego and my personas, and I just let it all go. And I rest in that idea of love. Breathing it in my heart, breathing it out of my heart with gratitude and appreciation. I let it go, and so it is. Thank you.